Hey, what is it guys? I'm going to be doing the top 6 decks that I hate in Yu-Gi-Oh! For this format. And the reason why I'm doing top 6 is because one of these decks will always be on this list no matter what format it is, and it has a special place in my heart where I want to torture it repeatedly. So, let's get into it. At number 6 we have got Spectres. Now, Spectres is one of those decks that I didn't like when I first saw it because it said this card cannot be targeted or destroyed by card effects. So Mirror Force no longer works. Forbidden Chalice no longer works. So yeah, good luck with that. Black Rose won't help you at all. And I was playing Yangzings at the time, so basically that was just a pain in the ass to get past. And it was one of those things where even though there were small beaters in that, it was the fact that anytime you killed them, they just came back and you got more search, and then the spells and traps would just blitz your board like they weren't even trying. And then they had the counter trap, which is Solemn Judgment, which I don't see why. Solemn Judgment is too broken to be allowed back, but we'll happily create a load of different versions of it for different decks, and that's perfectly fine. So I don't understand that bit. So my number 5 position is Infernal Eyes. Now I will raise my hand and admit I did play Infernal Eyes when they first came out, and it was just Nuku, Antra, and the ones that were good-ish. And it was long before that reasoning bullshit came out. And it was good. And it was nice, fair, and balanced, and pull off a lot of stuff, but you didn't feel like you were an ass at the end of it. Now, with the reasoning thing, it's, okay, I've got 2 targets for reasoning, so let's just go through my entire deck, unless you're doing, which I've seen people only have 2 targets for reasoning, and kind of took out the Decatrons, just have Raidens in there as your targets for reasoning, and just go through it like there's no tomorrow, and then win. You can do the Decatron thing, and you're still an ass for using reasoning, because, hey, all these cards can just come back from my grave, and I'm just going to put a load of fodder there, so just doing that isn't fair, and if you Anuku a person's field, you're horrible, and if you do it twice, you're just a damn ass. So that is why I do not like Infernal Eyes. At my number 4 position is Chainburn. Now, there's always that one player that turns up to a regionals, YCS, or your locals with this deck, and he ain't going to win because he knows for a fact people will side in something that can stop it. But he's just going for that game 1 satisfaction of knowing he's pissed off every person there. And that is one of the reasons why I hate Chainburn. Now, I've seen some creative versions where I did see one person use Chainburn in Cliff Hots, and that was quite actually creative, and I will give him kudos for that. But just having pure Chainburn, where you're just planning on killing your opponent in start of their turn, or maybe 2 turns later, that's just not nice. And if you ceasefire someone, that's horrible. But if you get ceasefired twice, you don't want to play against that person no more. For number 3, we have Mermails. Now, Mermails was a deck that I didn't like it, because when the Dragoons shenanigans and OTKing in 1 turn because of Dragoons came out, I hated it. And then when it finally felt like the deck got neutered when Gund got hit and Dragoons got hit, I felt that the deck was a bit more balanced and it could compete competitively for a while and pull off some reasonable plays. But then we got Prince, and Gund went up, and so did Dragoons, and the awful plays came back where it just felt like no matter what you did, you were going to die. Unless you ran a top-tier deck, you were just going to die, and you had no say in the matter, unless you were one of those lucky people, and your opponent opened up 5 spells, and you sort of could defend yourself for a little bit. But I've played against this deck, and even when you have an established board, they will clear it, and then they will kill you. Even when I've used Monarchs, I've basically just gone first turn Majesty's Fiend, and they don't care. If they've got that chalice, they'll use that chalice, and then they will kill you like there's no tomorrow. Then at number 2, we have got Psyframes. Now, I didn't like Psyframes for 2 reasons. 1, when you play them, you feel bored. 2, when you're playing against them, you feel 10 times more bored. Because I'll let off every other deck in this one, in this hierarchy, for one reason. Because they actually did stuff during their turn, and then when it came to your turn, you could actually do something, subtracting Magispectres because you still didn't want to do anything because of their background. But with Psyframes, you found it hard to do anything as a response because they just sit there with a hand of 5 cards or more, circuit on the field, and the back row that they had with either a Malevolent Catastrophe or a Psyframe Overload, and you just felt like, why do I even bother playing? I could just sit here and just wait till you deck out and just have the satisfaction of knowing I can make you deck out until people found that making Final Countdown makes it speed up a little bit quicker. But that's why I don't like Psyframes, because you just wait until your opponent does something, and if you're going up against it, you just sit there and think, right, I need to make sure they've got a card on the field so I can do my stuff. And even if they've got a card on the field at the time, that card ain't sticking around for long. It's either an Omega that's going to float off to his home in the Banished Zone along with Zeta, or they're going to go Black Rose, Moonlight, or something that's just going to clear itself off the board as well as your stuff. And then finally, the number 1 deck that I hate more than anything in the world, and I think this will stay number 1 and have a special place in hell. Magical Explosion, which this actually came top cut at a tournament with Monarchs. Now, hopefully, because of that, Konami will recognise that this deck is just, as Capital G put it, walking cancer. Which, yeah, I know it's kind of bad, but yeah, I will agree with him on that one. It is walking cancer. Because you just sit there, and it's not an FTK deck, it's an OTK deck that might as well have just been an FTK deck, because as soon as your turn starts, you've lost. Unless you're one of these people that has the amazing tech of Hana Water, or you're a DDD player that pulls off King Diark your first turn. You have just lost. Why was this card... I know when it first came out, Konami was probably thinking, oh, this card could be balanced, you can tech it in to a random deck just to get off that extra damage because Cowboy didn't exist then. But then when they saw that people were dedicating whole decks to basically killing your opponent with this card, and because of chicken games, it didn't matter if this card was at 1, you'd still pull off your plays and make your opponent want to reach over and slap you. I just never understood. Whichever evil bastard came up with this deck, I can officially say you've made a lot of people unhappy. So, thank you guys for watching. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. And if you like segments like this, give it a thumbs up so I know that you like it, and I'll continue doing them. So I'll be signing out now. Peace.